monogamy is built towards and accepted as this is it, and this is how a relationship goes, and not until you have the discussion, not until you have the dialogue with your partner or partners about like how you see the relationship going forward, boundaries, preferences, proclivities, understanding what both of you need or want from the other person. That's sort of what has me pulled closer to polyamory.
Poly means being able to date multiple people at the same time, or letting my partners date multiple people at the same time. Sometimes there's too much love in one person for them to just give it to one other person.
Are you polyamorous?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I am polyamorous.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't identify with it. I see it as an activity or like a preference or as how I interact with my relationships. It's just one way to partake in a relationship.
When did you first hear about polyamory?
I'd have to say, I think middle to late part of my senior year of high school. Again, I had been socialized to believe that like polyamory is like complete taboo. I didn't have the language or resources to understand like what the word meant or what it was up until that point. It was just like, this is an open relationship and it's for people who are weak and cannot fully commit to monogamy. I was listening to a podcast that recently investigated the ideas of, dialogue and consent and discussions and understanding the boundaries and preferences within your relationship.
Because I know with polyamory, you have to go through all those, like, you have to discuss it beforehand. Like, I think that should happen with any relationship, but especially when it's polyamorous and you have these, like, it's human fallibility and you have to negotiate around that too. And like, sometimes people do get jealous, or sometimes, like, you're not sure of the boundaries of your relationship with certain people. That happens all the time, but it's emphasized when you're in a polyamorous relationship. The more people, the more complicated it tends to become. But as long as you're clear about it, like, it works.
What was your initial reaction to polyamory?
I guess excitement. I don't know. It was just really exciting to see people having diverse forms of relationships and still be completely normal people.
I felt like it kind of makes sense. Are we really like meant to be completely monogamous or completely with just one other person? Maybe at first I was like, oh, like that's good for other people, but like I don't know if I could do it. But now it's like, yeah, it's fine. I've done it. I could do it again.
Have you had the conversation of non-monogamy with someone?
Yeah, so I had a girlfriend last year. We dated for like 9 months, and she had 2 other partners while I was seeing her. One dude and one girl who still lives here and who's like one of my best friends.
Like, unfortunately, the person sort of seemed kind of off-put to it. So it was sort of off-putting to have like a very negative reaction to it. It wasn't sort of like a dialogue of like, oh, let's talk about like why that would be something that you desire. It was more like, no, like that sounds awful.
So it was something you brought up pretty early on.
Yeah, she already knew because, I don't know, when we were like flirting at the beginning, she was like, you're not single. I was like, oh, no, I'm not. But like, I'm available, you know?
Do you have any questions for us?
How did you feel like when Sim told you that he was thinking about it?
Whenever it was he brought it up, I think my gut reaction was like, why?
Yeah.
You know? It's one of those things, I think, where you're kind of like, of course I'm okay with it. But then when it happens to you, it's like, it's different.
Mm-hmm. Sim, why?
Why did I bring it up? Her man had 2 jobs, was a full-time student, and got increasingly busier, so he didn't have as much time for her. And he was like, hey, I'm polyamorous. I don't think you're receiving the fulfillment in this relationship that you should be.
Oh.
And I'm like okay with you like pursuing like other people, date someone else. Like, you have more time and like you wait around for me a lot, and you shouldn't have to do that.
Mm. So you were thinking of her like foremost?
now it's just like, it's more of just a continuing conversation. I think it's still something that I want to pursue.
What expectations are you going in with,
Yeah.
basically?
I think because I'm very aware of how bad I am at having a conversation, and I think it's a really forceful way to have the conversation. Because without doing this, honestly, I don't know when we'd have this conversation, like have the end result of the conversation. So I think that by actively forcing it, I mean it in a positive way. Like it'll help have a resolution.
This is like the initiation of a journey.
Our initial goal of this was to create a how-to video on having the conversation of transitioning from a monogamous to a polyamorous relationship, but we found it difficult to establish a format for ourselves.
Our conversation ended up being over 4 hours in length and full of personal issues that would be different per relationship. The following is the conversation we had minus the crying and silence. It may not be how your conversation goes. It's not a format, but a documentation. Its purpose is to show how a conversation might unfold.
We would recommend bringing up the topic and allowing both partners to do their own research and then setting up the time and space necessary to allow for a productive conversation. Here it is. Are you okay?
Yeah? How do you feel? Do you have any questions pulled up?
They're there.
Do you not want to start with them?
No.
Why?
I feel like it's just really fast.
How should we start this off then?
You've read that book, you tell me.
Forget about it. I don't think like a super monogamous culture is right either.
Do you think polyamory is right? More than monogamy?
The thing with polyamory is that I haven't tried it, for one. But like the people that have talked about it, like places that I've learned this from, I respect most of that. I think it's just like a better relationship structure in the sense that it's a fluid relationship structure.
I think you're more attracted to polyamory, so your view of monogamy is just
Negative.
yeah.
If I'd like stop like trying to rationalize things to myself, it's just like in terms of like what I want. I just want more. I don't know, like I just want to like not live like this like structured sort of life of like, oh, this is how you do it step by step. It's like I just want to like break out of that, and I want to like experience other cultures. I just want to like break out and try other things. And like we're trying monogamy, and I want to try polyamory with you. Like it's not like, oh, you're. It's not an issue of like you're not enough for me. Like you're here for me, and I love you, and I want you to be with me. Like let's try more.
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks. Where does mucus come from?
Sinuses? That sound right? Do you want to go through your questions?
Yeah, they're in like a weird order where they're not in order.
That's fine.
What's your worst case scenario of this conversation ending?
I mean, there's only two scenarios. Like, it's like we're like, oh, let's try it out, or it's like, oh, let this conversation end here. Or it could be, I guess it could be like, oh, we can revisit it later. I've been like wanting to say this. Like whenever you said like, oh, like, I don't know, like you've like shown fear or something. I feel like it's mostly from like you wanting to go being like, no, this isn't something I want to do. It's not something I want to do with you, and it's something that you're afraid to say because you don't know how I'm going to react to that. And I think that's where we're at. I think I think I knew that.
But what does that mean?
What do you mean?
Like, what an ending. What's your best case scenario?
Yeah, let's try it. Can I ask why?
I think I just have a lot of insecurities. I think I just get jealous. Is your end goal to be in a polyamorous in relationships?
I think I'd prefer to be, polyamorous.
And after that I said, where I am right now, I don't want to be in a poly relationship. Maybe one day. But honestly, for me, no. If this is something you really want, then I don't want to be the one to hold you back. What are you thinking? Can I kiss you? We're here. You ever do is make me. So, Sim, what's that?
Next destination, you know? And so, like, and then whenever.
What about the last one?
Like the question of, am I breaking up with you right now?
Well,
Like that's what the question says. No? Okay, so what are your insecurities?
feeling not good enough.
So it just stems from your lack of self-confidence, the fear of inadequacy. But what's it based in? Have I ever made you feel inadequate?
I think you're looking for an answer that I can't give you.
What's the worst case scenario if we go down the polyamorous route for you? Is that I find someone that I'm happier with and I leave you?
Yeah.
Why isn't that something that would also happen in monogamy?
It could. I'm not saying it's not like an impossibility, but
Do you think it's more likely in polyamory?
yeah.
Don't you think it's just as likely that you could also find someone?
Yeah. I think it's the possibility that it can happen more. Do you think I'm wrong?
Yes.
Why?
Because I've had this argument with myself.
What do you mean?
When I did think like, oh, is this something I would introduce to my relationship? I asked myself, okay, why? Like, is like opening up the relationship just like an easier way out than like just straight up breaking it? I'd always concluded with no. I'm not trying to like.
That's your thought process, though. Because you're interrogating yourself.
Yeah, I'm aware, and that's what I'm telling you. Can you explain your thought process?
I don't see how you don't understand that I might see it this way.
I see it. Like I'm saying, like I've been through that.
Yeah, but then you're also saying that it's not going to happen.
No, I'm saying that's not my intentions.
I don't think that's your intentions. I'm just saying I think it's a possibility. I'm not saying that's the reason also that I don't want to do it.
And what's the reason?
I think there's just multiple, and that's just one of them.
What are the other reasons?
Like, I don't think I'd like want to see you with other people. I think that's like my main reason.
Initially, like when I asked to open up the relationship, I asked to open it up on your side, and I thought that like if we opened up our relationship and if I got you to see that like this is a way relationships can be, then eventually maybe you'd be also comfortable like seeing me with someone else, or just willing to even like be open to the idea of that, because you'd experience it and you'd be able to experience that, hey, I can love. Working through those things while trying to keep your relationship wouldn't make us like weaker. If anything, like going through this together with you, it would only make me love you more. So like now I feel bad because I feel like I'm trying to like convince you right now. I don't want that. I am. Oh my god, it's a weird way to navigate.
Like if we were to have a poly relationship, how do you envision it?
No idea. For now, I'm very much at the viewpoint of freeform.
What about a scenario in which I was uncomfortable with someone you were with?
That's something we would discuss. But that goes in the territory of agreements. Okay, so where are we in the conversation right now?
I have 3 choices.
Which are?
We stay monogamous. Our second option, this is probably the one you'd like the most, is that we try it for like a year.
Well, that's a long time.
I know, but like if you have a year,
You can let things unfold
yeah.
more naturally.
Or there's like 2 versions of this option, I guess. And that would be to break up. And the one would either be like break up, or like break up so you can try this out on your own.
I don't want to break up. I need another hug.
But it's more like, if this is what you really want, then I can't like hold you back.
It's something that I want as much for you as I do for myself.
I'm saying my worst case scenarios, because that's what I do. Like, who knows, I might like it more than you do. Here's the thing, there's 2 options of the best case scenario right now. Either I enjoy it, or you realize you don't like it. But the worst case scenarios are louder than the best. What's your worst case and best case?
Okay, the worst case scenario is that you find someone and you realize, like, oh, Sim was just a shitty boyfriend. That's the worst case. It's not. It's like if you find someone that you're happier with, like at least there's. It's not like a. It's not like a me thing, you know.
Are you afraid that you're a shitty boyfriend?
Yeah, a little bit.
Why?
Aren't we all? Best case scenario is that you're happy in the newfound lifestyle and you're happy that I brought it up.
So what do we do? Let's figure it out.
Okay. Where are we in the conversation?
So am I writing down the 2 options?
Okay.
Okay. I wish we had 2 of these. Trying to figure out what to do as a check mark.
Right.
I might do like a Twin Peaks thing.
Okay.
Do I record you and close my eyes?
I'm just gonna record it.
Okay. I know what your answer is.
Oh my god.